Okay, I want to welcome Rand Petersen to our first interview today.
Thank you.
Welcome here, and just want to start the interview off just with your background, growing up, family, just growing up in Harlan. If you want to start off with that.
Well, I was born in Harlan, 1929,
Okay.
and went to Laurel School, and the old high school, graduated from the old high school.
Now let's talk about Laurel School. Where was Laurel School located at?
7th and Laurel,
Okay.
between 7th
Yep.
and 8th and Laurel.
Right.
The old Catholic church was across the street.
Right across the street. Today there are
Yeah.
apartments.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the old gym wasn't on there when I was there. And then I moved up to the 7th and 8th grade. Junior high was in the old high school building.
Right.
So,
Okay. And you remember, okay, so 1929 you said, so you're probably not remembering the Great Depression very much. Do you remember anything about?
no, I don't. We were all in the same boat,
Sure.
and I don't know if anybody knew the difference. They didn't know we were in a depression, really, I guess.
Right. Okay. And so let's talk high school then. Your high school, what do you remember about high school, the different sports you were a part of?
Well, I played football, basketball, and track. We had one coach for everything.
Okay.
There was no girls athletics at that time.
All right.
And I played in the band, sang in the chorus, vocal chorus.
So you're very active.
Yeah, very active. My junior year of school, I went to military school for a year, and I came back
All right.
and graduated in 47.
And why did you do that?
My mother had some ill health and was just easier if I were here for her
see.
to take care of.
I see. And that also was right after World War II.
Yeah.
What do you remember about World War II? Because you would have been too young to go into World War II.
Yes, yeah.
And so what do you remember about the impact that World War II had on our community? Do you remember anything in particular?
No, I don't. You know, we didn't have gas, and the school didn't have school buses in those days.
Right.
And when we went to football games and basketball games, the parents drove us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when I was a senior, I probably drove a car myself, to basketball games or football games.
Right.
I always remember Bernie Boucher, who had the chicken hut south end of town.
Mm-hmm.
He had a big Chrysler,
Okay.
and we all fought over who got to ride with him in that Chrysler.
Okay.
In those days, didn't get a new car.
Right.
They weren't building cars and everything.
Sure. Because steel
And
and
there was gas rationing on, so
right.
you didn't drive cars. Nobody had cars. So,
Okay. So and it was known as Harlan High School at that point in time.
yeah,
And class sizes, your class size would have been
probably 60 or
60
70.
people?
Yeah.
Okay, because that's before the consolidation.
Right.
So, so then you go to college
Yes.
out of high school.
Yes, I went.
Let's talk about your college career then,
Well,
where
I
you
went
went.
to Iowa. I was all signed up to go to Grinnell, and I ended up going to Iowa because the athletic director at Iowa was a former high school coach at Harlan,
Okay.
and he got me a room down there, so I went to Iowa. I'd never been to Iowa City before when I went
Okay.
down. Went to school, it was like you go down and
Right. Check it out.
check it out.
Sure.
We don't do that today. I remember my good friend Simon Batista and I, we rode around in Max Bacon's Studebaker, and we each had one small suitcase, and that was it. That's how we went to college. That's all we needed.
Sure, sure. And maybe for our younger audience out there, what was college tuition? Do you know what it was per year?
Yeah, it was about $40 a semester.
$40 a semester.
I think I got $100 a month from my parents, and that paid for everything.
Okay.
No one knows I spent it all.
Right, right. And so, what did you know what you wanted to go into going into college?
Not really, no.
So, and what did you end up going?
I took liberal arts, and I ended up with a degree in economics.
Okay. And did your parents push you to go to college, or is that something that you wanted? to
No,
do?
I think they expected me to go to college.
Yeah.
Neither one of them had done that, so.
Okay. And what did your parents do? And why don't you give us the names of your parents and what they
My
did?
dad was Wilmer Petersen, and mother was Lucille. My father ran the production credit, which is the farm credit. Today it's the farm credit
Okay.
system. In those days they had the production credit and the federal land bank,
Mm-hmm.
and he ran the production credit end of it.
Okay.
My mother was a house mother,
Okay.
housewife, as most of the women were. There were very few
Right.
women who worked. We didn't have married women school teachers till the war,
Okay.
and they couldn't get men, so then they had to hire some women, so.
Okay. Okay. And so then you graduate from Iowa with a degree in.
I graduated from Iowa with a BA degree. Before last semester, my wife and I were married.
Okay.
But as soon as I graduated from school, I was drafted in the service,
Okay.
military.
Right. And you went into the Korean conflict,
Yes.
Korean War, right towards the end. So let's
Yeah.
talk about that. What was your role in that war?
Well, I was in artillery and fire direction center of the artillery.
Mm-hmm.
And I went over. I was on the ocean going to Korea on December 25th, 1952. I was going to Korea,
Okay.
and on January 1st we landed in Busan,
Mm-hmm.
Korea. Then I took an old train up to the front lines, and they dumped me off, and that's where I was till they sent me home.
Okay. And so towards the end of the war lasted how long?
The war was over when they signed the peace treaty while I was there.
Right.
In fact, I took Jeep over and went over and took pictures of all the entourage coming back after signing the peace treaty.
Right. And then you come back from the war, and what is that? What do you do after the war then?
Look for a job.
Of course, looking for a job.
Yeah.
And where did you end up?
I ended up in Dallas Center, Iowa, which is just west of Des Moines, working for the Brenton banks. And in those days, Brenton was a big name in banking, and they owned 11 or 12 banks. And
Okay.
Dallas Center was one of the original home banks in
Mhm.
the Dallas Center. And I worked for the Brentons for 4 years, and then I came back to Harlan.
Okay.
And
Did you get transferred?
no, I came back.
You
and
just came
bought
back.
the bank.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And that was what year? What year would that have been?
I think that was a 59.
1959.
Yeah.
Okay. And so let's talk about, you take over Shelby County State Bank
Right.
at that point. So let's talk about your role with Shelby County State Bank over the years and things
Yeah.
that you have done, that you did to change that bank over the years.
Well, when I came in, everybody in the bank, of course, had been there forever, you know.
Mhm.
And I was a new kid on the block.
Sure.
And I don't know if they appreciated me coming in. I made a lot of changes because
Sure.
they did things the way they'd done it for 30 or 40 years.
Change is good. Change can be good.
And
Yeah.
I thought they ought to change.
Right. What like change in what way?
Oh, just the way we took care of our customers, and we went out and called on our farm customers. And
Like a personal level.
Right. We took better financial statements. When the examiners came around, we didn't have any trouble with the examiners because
Sure.
we knew more about our customers than most of the banks that called on.
Mm-hmm.
And the bank grew. It was about 5 million in assets when I came in, and it was around 150, 60 million when I left. So
Mm-hmm. And
there were two banks in Harlan. The Harlan National Bank, which is now the Mid-States Bank,
mhm.
and Shelby County Bank. And they had a savings loan that was just starting up in those days. It ended up, I can't remember what they call the Harlan Savings and Loan. Gerald Larson ran it.
Okay.
He was an attorney here in Harlan.
All right.
And the savings and loan industry grew from that point on because the government let them pay more interest for their money than the banks, so
Mhm.
they were big competitors of ours for.
Sure.
And they made most of the house loans. And when we were business, we were agricultural bank. And we took care of the farmers.
Okay.
the merchants.
Sure. And where was your bank located at when you were?
We were on the east side of the square where the fourth generation is.
Okay.
That building is, we put the front on that building. That was in 1960, I think we did that.
Okay. So you were just here for about a year when that happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then in 1975, we built the new building, which is what the Shelby County Bank is now.
Okay.
Before that, we built a drive-in over there. We had the first drive-in in Harlan.
Okay. Drive-in bank.
Drive-in.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Which was pretty significant.
Yes, it was. And then we also put in another drive-in out on the highway where it is now. That was the first drive-in.
And when was that one built? The one on
Yeah, I can't tell you.
Highway 59.
That had to be in the 80s or
Okay.
early 80s or so.
Okay. And was that after you when that was built? That was.
No, well, that was originally it was a restaurant, and we bought it and made a drive-in out of it.
Okay.
Then after I sold the bank, then they remodeled it and rebuilt it again. So.
Okay. How has and you retired what year from Shelby County State Bank?
I think it was about 92 or so.
Okay. And I know we talked about this before about how just businesses in general have changed from the time, the 50s and 60s. And how have businesses changed in Harlan specifically, and probably a lot of small towns?
Right, yeah. Well, when I was in the banking business, all of the businesses in Harlan were locally owned. I mean, the grocery stores, the car dealerships, the banks, the drug stores,
Right.
everybody. And now you find it difficult to find a locally owned business.
Right.
I think Mid-States Bank is the only bank that's locally owned now. Bauer Shoe Store, that's been there a long time. Paxton Drugstore. Paxton Drugstore is probably the oldest business in Harlan. And Martin Ciccone owned it for 30 years, but before him, the Paxtons owned it for the 80 years before that.
Okay.
And Martin's been gone a long time out of there, so that's been there for 150 years probably.
When did, what decade was it when you said that bigger business would come in and family-owned businesses started going out more? When did that happen?
Well, first of all, let's go back. We had a number of grocery stores, little grocery mom and pop grocery stores in Harlan.
Do you remember those names? This is all around the square, correct?
They were on the square, most of them.
And this is before Hy-Vee, Fairway.
It's long before Hy-Vee
And also, when I first came here, there was another grocery store
Yes.
where Molded Products is now.
Yes.
Super Value. Super Value?
My neighbor, Walt, the Catholic Church, he's the assistant. Davitt.
Okay.
Pat
Okay,
Davitt.
Yep.
Pat Davitt's father owned I think he bought the grocery store that was once Swanson's
Okay.
and built the building down there with Molded Products.
I see. Okay.
Then Hy-Vee came in, then Fairway came in, so.
And was that in the 70s? 80s?
No, that was
Even before?
80s. I
80s.
suppose.
Okay.
Swanson Stores out of Cherokee owned a big grocery store downtown, and it burned down.
And where would that have been? Where would that? What stores would be today? Where?
Well,
Swanson's
where
was?
the Wild Willie's or whatever it is,
Sure.
that was where the Swanson.
Okay, so
store
they're
was.
on the corner.
Yeah.
There.
But our first, what we would call a big grocery store was Baker's. And that was located behind where Jacob's Photography is.
Mm-hmm.
Abe Baker was from Walnut, and he opened this big store there.
Mhm.
And Bud Mickle was the manager, ran it.
Okay.
And after Baker's opened, that pretty well took care of all the small grocers. They went out of business.
Okay. And
Until Swanson's came in and
And Baker ended up being
went to Omaha. Baker store in Omaha.
the big Baker's.
Yes.
Right, right.
But one of the grocery stores in Harlan was owned by Ben Cohen. Ben Cohen was the only Jew that I know of that ever lived in Harlan.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't tell you when he left. I was in grade school or high school when he left.
Right. Okay, and I know you also have a lot of knowledge about other things that were downtown. What are some other stores, back in the 60s, 70s that were around downtown,
Well,
or maybe locally owned?
Yeah, Farner's was probably the biggest one
Okay.
on the north side, and Wiggs on the south side.
Mm-hmm. And what were those stores?
They were
Or
sold
businesses?
everything.
Okay,
Five and dime stores.
I see.
Leo Farner probably sold more clothing than Wig did.
Mm-hmm.
And you know who Moon is? That was Wig was Moon's grandfather.
Okay.
Oh, there was Polly Furniture for a long time on the south side of the square.
Mhm.
Polly Funeral Home.
Right.
Well, Polly had a furniture store.
Okay.
Then Clay, and then Richard. Booth Motor, Ford Garage. They've been there for many, many years.
Mm-hmm.
E.M. Christensen, down the block east of the square, was there for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
There was an implement dealer. And there was a harness shop next to the bank.
Next to your bank.
Yeah. Gary Christensen's grandfather had the harness shop.
Okay.
there.
And so today, Bowers is really the only one that's been there a long time that's still there,
I would say that.
as far as the
right.
original store.
Right.
Right.
Next to Bowers, there used to be a little hamburger shop there.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when hamburgers were a nickel.
Right.
And on a real good day, and my dad was in a good mood, he'd give me a dime and I could go down and buy a 10-cent hamburger.
Nice. Inflation, yes, inflation. Now, what about the movie theater? Was the movie theater, how long has that been there?
Well, that's been there longer than I. That was
Okay, so that was there.
That was there.
All right.
Yes. And then they opened the Cozy Theater, another little theater down the street where Dr. Sperring used to be and where the dentist is now.
Okay, right.
That was the Cozy Theater. And Brown was the fellow's name that owned the theater. I always accused him of taking the scissors and cutting the sacks off the top off the popcorn sacks so it didn't fill them up with too much popcorn.
Okay. Little trick of the trade.
Yeah.
Okay.
It cost a dime to get into the theater.
Right, yeah. Oh, let's get into some names that are well known in Harlan, like Stamp, Merrill,
All right.
of course, Norman Stamp Aquatic Center, Merrill Field, Potter's
Norman
Park.
Stamp.
Let's talk about those guys for a little
Yeah, we'd have to go back. First would be Potter.
bit. Okay.
And the Potters were in the Green Bay Lumberyard Company. And evidently, that was before my time when they gave them the ground where Potter Park is.
Right.
Then Merrill Field was given by a fellow by the name of Merrill. He owned the canning factory here in Harlan. And he lived just catty corner across the street from the high school.
Where it used to be?
Yeah.
Yeah. So where Turkelson
He'd
Center
be
is.
at the catty corner northwest of Turkelson Center.
Okay.
And he gave the land to the schools, I understand it, before my time, for the football field.
Okay.
And before they opened it, he died. And when they had the dedication of the field, his wife came out to the dedication, which he had to buy a ticket to get in.
Okay, that's funny. Okay. What about Norman Stamp?
Norman Stamp came here as extension director.
Okay.
And then he went into the seed corn business with Wilson, who was a doctor who didn't practice medicine but was interested in seed corn. And Norman was here, took over. He and his brother-in-law for a number of years owned Wilson hybrids, and they also were in the hybrid hog business out there. And so when they were rebuilding the Harlan Aquatic Center, he gave them money to help that.
Was that his land there too? Or
No.
no.
There was a swimming pool there before.
There was, okay.
That was built by the WPA in the,
Oh,
during the Depression.
Sure.
Same time as the post office.
Okay. All right.
It used to be a hospital where the whole post office is.
Okay.
And Mr. Brown, who owned the newspaper, was the first house west of there.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, anybody else? I know we mentioned Turkelson.
Turkelson, he's in the manufacturing business in the suburb of Chicago. And he's a good alumni of the Harlan High School because he comes back every year for the homecoming.
Every year he comes back?
Every year he comes back from homecoming. He used to fly his own jet back here.
Really?
Yeah. And he was a classmate of Gary Christensen. They were very close friends.
Okay.
And his mother lived in Harlan. And his father died and she remarried. But when they built the press box at the stadium, why, he paid for that.
Okay.
So when
This most recent
yeah,
update? Okay.
yeah.
Right.
So when we were building the what is now Turkelson Center, I was on the city council at that time and worked to build a new senior citizen center. And Jerry talked him into being a large contributor. And because he lived out of town, we thought we ought to encourage people in Harlan. We named it after him, but he was the largest contributor. And which he continues to contribute to every year.
And not just that, other
Yeah.
things as well. Yeah.
A very, very, really nice guy. Talking to other businesses have been here a long time. Steeville's been here a long time.
Okay.
And Western Engineering has been here. Western Engineering was started by a fellow by the name of Rex Finley, who's been dead for a long time now. But the ownership has been local owned all that time.
Okay. Okay. Let's go on to, I know we had talked a little bit, you had mentioned how you worked for Robert Ray, former Governor Robert Ray.
Yeah.
Let's get into that. So we'll move away from Harlan a little bit and talk about Robert Ray and how that all came about, you working for his campaign back in 1968.
Yeah. Well, I was involved in Republican politics when I got out of the service. That was about the time Eisenhower was running for president. And I went from a precinct chairman to county chairman to district chairman to serve on the Republican Central Committee. And Bob Ray was chairman at that time. He was a young lawyer from Des Moines. And we got to be very close friends. And that's when, who was a fellow from Ice Grove, was a governor.
We're talking after?
Before Bob Ray.
Before. He was the first governor that I remember, so going before that.
Yeah, he's the one responsible for liquor by the drink that brought liquor by the drink.
Okay.
Harold Hughes.
There we go.
And Harold Hughes was a Democrat, but he was a very good governor. He did a great job. And then he ran for the Senate, and Bob, and I encouraged him to come on and run for governor. We had 3 candidates. 2 of them were conservatives, and Bob was a liberal.
Liberal Republican.
Liberal Republican,
right?
Which in those days there weren't a lot of them.
Right.
But anyway, I spent most of my time for the first year or 2 out on the road, traveling, and raising the money. I raised all the money for Bob's
Okay.
first campaign. In contrast, in those days, we raised 85,000 for primary and the general election.
Right.
But we didn't pay anybody. We had one paid person on the campaign staff. Everybody else was
Yeah.
volunteers.
Right.
And so he was elected, and he was elected 4 more times after that.
Right.
In those days, the governor was elected for 2-year terms.
Okay.
So he served 3 2-year terms. Then they went to 4 years, and he served 2 4-year terms.
Okay. Okay.
So he served a total of, I think, 14 years.
Right. And Branstad would have been the governor that came
Branstad
after
was the
him.
lieutenant governor the last 2 times that Bob was the
Governor.
governor.
Right. Because he would come after
Yes.
the first governor right after.
Yeah.
him. Right. Okay. And so, did you work for him after 1968, or just during that one election?
I was chairman of all his campaigns, but
Okay.
I worked most on the first one
Okay.
because I traveled the state and
Sure. But you still were officially based here. You lived here in Harlan. Your base was
Oh,
still
yes.
here.
Oh, yes.
Still officially head of the bank. Still.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
Okay.
So we've been very good friends all
Yeah.
the time.
Sure. Okay. Let's talk now a little more recent with the Petersen Family Wellness Center and how your name got attached to that and the story with that.
Well, I have to go back. We started the not the Petersen Foundation. We started the Shelby County Health Foundation, I don't know, 18, 20 years ago. Pat, Darren, and I were the ones that started that. And our first board members was Sidney Burchett was on that board, and Jerry Lafke, one of the hospital board members from Elkhorn was on that board. But anyway, we set out to set up a foundation for the hospital to raise the money. And one of the things we did, we made up a brochure, handout of all the wants and wishes that the hospital needed.
Sure.
And so one day, my mother died when she was 77 years old, and my father remarried. And they called me up to the house and said, we've been going through this list of things they need up there, and we want to buy the mammography machine. Hospital didn't have one in those days. Many hospitals didn't have them.
Okay.
And so that got them started. They gave money to the foundation to buy the mammography machine. One of the stipulations was that everybody got to use it. You couldn't say, you can't afford it.
Right.
And
Okay.
then the hospital came up and said, well, we'd like to have you contribute money for a scholarship fund. And Lucille was a businesswoman from Minneapolis, and her boss up there had done extremely well, and she had done so. And so she said, well, I'll give the hospital $100,000 for a scholarship fund. It was a bond, and those days pay 10%, so they had $10,000 a year to give for scholarship for people who want to advance their learning from nursing and
Okay.
anything that have to do with medical.
Sure.
And so if you look at the hospital today, the people that work there, there are an awful lot of them that benefit from scholarships from that fund.
Great. Yeah. Had a great impact.
And then when they were remodeling the hospital, they wanted a meeting room down there, and so she gave them the money for the oval room. Oval was her maiden name.
Okay.
So that's where that came from. So when they decided to build a fitness center, my wife was on the hospital board, president of the hospital board at the time,
And what's your wife's name?
Mary Louise.
Okay.
And so some of our friends came and said, we need your help financially, would you be willing to contribute. And we said, yes, we would. But when it came to the name, they wanted to put our name on it. I said, no. I said, the Health Foundation put up an awful lot of money for the fitness center. And that money came from Lucille.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it ought to be Petersen. We all contributed. It wasn't just one or two people.
Right.
So that's how that.
Okay. All right. Good. I did put out on Twitter just to mention that I was going to interview you, and the current mayor, Gene Geddes, replied with a couple of questions.
I see. All right.
And so I know you had mentioned you know Gene's father.
Gene's
if you want to
father.
talk a little bit about.
His father, his grandfather, was the superintendent of schools in Harlan for many years.
Right. And what was his name?
Joe Geddes.
Okay.
And they came down here from Sibley, Iowa, I believe. And I would have been in 7th grade when they came because his father, Gene, was a year ahead of me in school.
Okay.
So we played football and basketball together for
Mm-hmm.
a number of years.
So we're talking, this would be like the 1930s
He graduated,
and 40s.
his father graduated in 46. I graduated
Okay.
in 47.
Right. Okay.
And then his father went into the service right away because he came back, went to Iowa when I was down there in Iowa.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and so the questions that Gene asked is, what makes Harlan special to you? What is it about Harlan that you've really enjoyed over your life?
Well, I think it is all the businessmen work together, and if we had a project, everybody worked in. We didn't have dinners against everything. I look at Dennis, and they had a newspaper up there. Anytime something was being done, the newspaper came out, was against it,
Mm-hmm.
and fought it. No, we've never had to do that. And we had bond issues for the schools, why, they always passed.
Right.
And we've had good school boards. We've not had trouble with school boards and hospital boards and all of that.
So people just working well together.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. And he also asked one more. Why did you end up staying in Harlan for most of your life, outside of the military service and a few years after
Well,
you?
because I came to Harlan, I had an opportunity to buy a bank at a good price,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the main thing. My family was here. All my
Family,
family
yep,
was here.
and a good job.
I spent my summers every summer on the farm. My dad was raised on the farm.
Mm-hmm.
And so I enjoyed farming and working with farmers.
Right. Now, did Robert Ray ever tempt you with a job opportunity
No.
in Des Moines? No?
No, he did my wife. He appointed her the Board of Regents,
Okay.
and eventually she was elected the president, served for 9 years. President, she's the only woman that ever served as president of the Regents,
Okay.
and she served there for 12 years. So.
Okay. And so let's talk about, and we're getting close, the impact you've had on Harlan Community Schools over the years. Any impact that you've helped out with the school?
Well, we've helped out the school when they came and wanted funds.
Sure.
I guess the first time was when Cindy Burchett was the principal of the grade school and came to us and said, we would like to put in a computer
Okay. Lab. Yep.
I don't know what a computer was. I don't still know. But anyway, she talked us into it. I said, well, if the two banks come up with the money, we'll match them.
Okay.
So that's what we did.
Okay.
And then I think she came back the next year or a year later and said, well, we need to do it again. So
Mm-hmm.
then Mary Lou and I, we started a foundation a number of years ago. And when the school was contemplating summer school, reading class in the summer school,
Mm-hmm.
and raising money, we said we would support that. So we, for the first 2 or 3 years, we supported that.
Okay.
The first time they redid the track, Swede Johnson came to us and said, well, we need some help.
Sure.
So we helped put the track in.
Right. Right.
And the last time was with the football field. Justin came around.
Mm-hmm.
So we look at it as an investment in our community,
Right.
and the more people that use it, the bigger dividend we get.
Sure. Good way of looking at it. Yeah. I know Cindy Burchett is going to be moving out of
Yeah,
Harlan
yes.
in
She's
about
gonna
2
be a
months.
big loss too.
Yeah, and I'm interviewing her
I see.
a week from now, so
I
I'm
see.
looking forward to that interview too. So.
So her father was a very good friend of mine for a long, long time.
Mhm.
And he served on the hospital board and on the foundation board.
And he had a funeral home, correct?
Had a funeral home.
Right.
Paulie Jones Funeral Home.
Yep. Right.
His father had it before him.
Mhm.
And so they came here, Paulie's came here from Nebraska, but
Okay.
it was in the early 30s, I think, I don't
Right.
remember.
Okay. All right. And the last question is just future plans. Any future plans that you have? Or looking to obviously retire. I mean, you're retired, but planning to stay here.
Oh, we'll stay here, yes.
And just anything that you have
I
on
can't
the.
talk my wife about leaving town, she's too busy.
She's still involved in a lot of things.
She's still involved in a lot of things.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, very good. I appreciate your time. Thank you for the interview.
Yes, sir.
And this will be put online. You mentioned you didn't know computers very well, but we'll make sure maybe ask someone that can show it to you. So.
Well, she has a computer and she
Very good.
she can look at it. But
All right. Very good.
that's the reason I got out of the banking business. I came in with a computer
Sure.
and I said, that's it for me.
I'm retiring.
You're right.
All right. Didn't want to learn a new trade towards the
No.
end. So. Okay. Very good. Thank you very much.